Hello, I'm Rochelle Rose, National Director of Performer Programs at the SAG-AFTRA Foundation. It's my pleasure to introduce two extraordinarily talented actors from the cast of House of Gucci. Both of them have been nominated for SAG Awards this year. Please welcome Lady Gaga and Jared Leto. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I hope you're both well too. Through your characters, we're able to explore all of the film's main themes: ambition, power, greed, betrayal. And I want to focus this conversation on your physical transformations. So starting with hair and makeup, Lady Gaga, Patrizia takes us through 3 fabulous decades of fashion in hair and makeup, and her character evolves tremendously during this period. Have you ever had as much fun working with your team, makeup artist Sarah Tono and hairstylist Frederick Asperius, as you did creating these looks?
To hear you introduce me as an extraordinary actor, I have to say for a second, I started to breathe heavily over here because as everyone knows, I've not been in many movies. So this is in a lot of ways new for me, and in a lot of ways not, because I've studied acting since I was very little. In terms of the physical transformation for Patrizia, did I ever have as much fun with Frederick and Sarah? What I would say is always when working with Frederick and Sarah, we are operating at a very high soulful level of precision and accuracy, but there was a very particular way that we approached this project. And knowing that it spanned 3 decades, there was an extensive amount of research that we did together and separately. So actually, Frederick pitched to me the hair, Sarah pitched to me the makeup. I then combed through all of that research as well as choices with them. We pitched over 20 wigs to Ridley. We talked about the makeup evolution, and we decided it was important early on that she was quite young. And what I do want to touch on about physical transformation that I believe also about Jared, who had prosthetics on and such a huge makeup transformation, is that all of that can happen. But if you do not prepare what's on the inside, it's simply just not going to be a holistic approach to the character, in my opinion. In the study of human behavior, and as somebody who loves fashion and who also loves costumes for stage and the making of all of those things, I also believe that if there's no heart behind it, that it's you essentially become a hanger, and you're not a human. So these transformations took us a long time. I was in the trailer every day at 3 a.m. Frederick has a very particular technique of doing a prosthetic bald cap and then putting the wig on top so that it's really seamless lines, which helps in post-production. We found together as a team every single photograph that exists of Patrizia Vergiani, Patrizia Gucci. We also found any moving imagery of her. We read everything we could about her. We called everyone in fashion that we know and asked them what they knew about her. We asked everyone in Italy what they felt and thought about Patrizia Gucci. And it's a labor of love. Ridley actually only wanted me to have one hair for the entire film. But after we did all the work that we did and presented it to him, slowly it just became this natural collaboration. And there's over 15 wigs in the film, and we had to be ready. So those wigs, Frederick every single day set all of those wigs so that if Ridley wanted to shoot another scene and I was going to go from being 25 to 43, that we would have to change very quickly. And Sarah did all of the aging on my face with makeup, not with prosthetics. I can't say it enough good things about my team. They've been with me for years. I've worked with them for decades, and transitioning from fashion to stage as well as to film and television, I think they're truly superstars of their craft. And it was nice for me to be able to be in the chair every morning and talking to everybody about what we were going to do for the day while they were working on me. And it's the magic that goes behind what we all love to do as actors.
Absolutely. And I appreciate what you're saying. I understand that both of you are very immersive in your work. But I want to come to you, Jared, a little bit to talk about the hair and makeup too, because even before we're introduced to Paolo Gucci, we hear from his father that he's an idiot. And then in this prophetic meeting, you're playing this Florentine game with your family who elbow you in the face. And the first time we get a really good look at Paolo Gucci, he's on the floor with a blooded nose, which, you know, it's so fantastic, I think, because we don't see the prosthetics. I know now that they were there, but I think the reason that they're brilliant is because we really can't see them. So I'm wondering if you can share with us, from your perspective, your discussions with Goran and the wig maker Anna Corin. What did you want for Paolo?
What did I want for Paolo? I guess I wanted the same thing that I always want, is to create a life, to put a life on the screen. That's, I mean, these characters, for me, they're like real people. They're nuanced and full of soul. And, you know, I get pretty attached to the roles that I play. I quite fall in love. And I certainly did here. I mean, there was a lot about Paolo that I adored. And I just felt for him, you know, I felt he just couldn't put it together in the way that he wanted to, the way that he dreamed, the way that he desired. And such a tragic thing that he wasn't heard or loved maybe by the people that should have heard him and loved him the most, his family. And, you know, he struggled with that, as one would. But Joran, we were a few weeks out from shooting, and we lost a makeup artist, actually, who quite reasonably said, "Hey, listen, there's not enough time. I can't do this." And I mean, it was a logical thing to do. There wasn't enough time. So we scrambled, and I watched this film called Border, which I recommend. It's really an interesting film. And we found this, you know, Swedish artist named Joran to come and join the madness, the mad dash. And we had about 3 weeks. And Ridley's great because and it sounds like Gaga had this experience as well, as, you know, once he hires his team, and it's probably not just his actors, it's everyone, he expects them and he believes that they're going to be able to show up and do, you know, their best work. And that's a great gift that he gives you when he has that faith in you, that you will have the ability to show up and deliver. But we just all got in a hotel room in Rome, and Joran was flying back and forth from Sweden to Rome. It was locked down. We didn't know if he was going to get locked out of the country. The supplies and some of the stuff that he needed was in Sweden, and his team, so we had to go back and forth. It was just insanity. But Ridley he put us in this room. 3 weeks later, we came out and we introduced Paolo to the world. And, you know, sometimes with acting, you discover from the outside in. You put on a pair of high heels, you walk a lot different than when you're wearing steel-toe boots, which we all know very well. Lady Gaga knows this too. You put on a different outfit, you're going to move differently on stage. It might bring out a different side of you. And what I love, I talked about this with a really dear friend of mine. You know, the mask was in the beginning, when people were first acting, they would wear masks, and the masks not only concealed the identity of the actor, but also revealed something else. So mask work is quite interesting in that way. And, you know, whether you think about Burning Man or Halloween, we can all get a sense of how, or you dress up for a party, how it can release inhibitions. It can kind of, you can get attached to a different, or discover a different part of yourself. So I like that about transformation and about, mask work. And it certainly did all of that and more.
It's so relatable. We all understand when we play a character, even when it's that basic as Halloween, how little those details that you're talking about can make a huge difference. The walking emphasis on mud was perfect analogy. And I want to talk about costumes, because obviously the costumes in this movie are so descriptive. The next scene we see you, Paolo, he's in this dreamsicle lilac corduroy suit. And to your point, it makes sense that he should be designing for the family. And here he is asking to design, and he's completely infantilized by his father. The suit is just incredible. And then the pathetic shell suit at the airport. And then obviously with Lady Gaga, from that va va voom Elizabeth Taylor red satin to the plaid raincoat with the headscarf, all the way through this heady romance to the sequins of Studio 54 and the glamour of St. Moritz. I mean, it's just, the costumes are so descriptive of the character in this time. So can you share with us, both of you, the conversations that you had with Janti about character and costume?
Please go first, Jared.
Okay, because I'll be quick. I don't know. That's my answer. I don't know. No, Janti, what's great about Janti? Janti was the first person that I worked with for the film. And she's a pro. She does something that very few people on the planet could actually even do. And tackle these kind of ambitious set pieces, these films that are so grand in size and scope. There are very few people that know where those bodies are buried. She's one of them. And she does it at a really high level. All of my suits were like bespoke, tailored by these ateliers that just geniuses in Italy, and actually wonderful. One of the just brilliant tailors and designers in their own right. His voice was so beautiful. I just remembered this actually. He's one of the people that I studied. His voice and his dialect, because I thought it was just so rich. It was such a gorgeous voice. So I had him sending me tapes and stuff. It was fantastic. But the clothes were very informative. Like we said before, they can change you from the outside in, and you also from the inside out. You can tell a lot about your character. And in this case, I wanted to make sure every scene that the clothes gave an indication who this guy was. And you started to see a little bit about his eccentricities, about his, he was a bit of a dandy, he's a bit mischievous. He wasn't afraid to make mistakes or to be a leader. You wanted to be fashion forward, so to speak. And it was a lot of fun to put those things on. I mean, he's peacocking a bit. I actually like the sweatsuit quite a bit. I don't know what you called it. What did you call it? You used the term.
Tracksuit.
The tracksuit. I liked the tracksuit. They're so comfortable. At a certain age, that's you just wear a tracksuit. You don't need to ever wear anything again because it's so cozy. Put that on and a diaper, you're done.
Yeah.
Pandemic friendly.
Yeah, sure.
And Lady Gaga, I know you had hundreds of hours of fittings, and I'm just interested, about the whether or not the conversations you had with Janti Yates must have been about, showing the character.
Janti and we actually built a really beautiful friendship on set, and I have the utmost respect for this woman. She has made so many epic films with Ridley, and she has an ability also to simultaneously work on different projects at the same time, but pulling from costume houses, getting vintage clothing, as well as opening the archives of Gucci for us. And I loved working with her. We also went into my collection. I'm a fashion collector, so I brought some things with me. But part of the way that I really appreciated the way that she worked with me was when I arrived to Italy, I was already starting to dress like Patrizia on my own. So, you know, when I met Janti for the first time in Rome, I was wearing, you know, a big glamorous black jacket and diamond earrings, and I had on, you know, this Chanel dress, and I dyed my own hair brown just for that, for a long stretch of time, just to sort of live and breathe and ruminate with the characters, the physicality, which also included what, you know, what is it like, like what Jared was saying, what is it like to wear things like this? How does it make you walk? Also, how did she walk? There was a particular way Patrizia held her neck. There was also a particular way that she moved when she was lying. How do all of these things work together? And it's like conducting a symphony. So when I met Janti, I was already kind of doing that, but as me. And then we slowly started to look through racks and racks of clothes, and we would just start plucking one thing after the other and saying, yes, yes, no, 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 definitely not. Yes, maybe. Let's try that on, you know, and it's this process of, it's almost like anyone going to a shop and shopping and saying, well, I would wear that or I wouldn't. And I'm thinking as the character while I'm doing it. And Patrizia was very much a more is more type of woman. She was never as chic or shiny as the Guccis. And if you notice, Janti and I also had a lot of conversations about Paola Franchi, so that Camille Cotin in the film, when we met up face to face, it would be very clear that this woman was prestigious and wealthy and polished in a way that, but no matter how much of a Gucci Patrizia became, she never was as polished. There was something kind of gaudy about her, chunky about her, something heavy. I wore a lot of heavy fabrics, lots of pins, lots of gold, lots of diamonds. You know, I think one of my favorite moments with Janti was that she was never afraid of making pop cultural statements as well while looking at the clothing with me. So we were getting ready to choose my outfits for a few different scenes, and one of them was when I discovered the counterfeit Gucci goods in New York, and we're thinking, well, what should I be wearing? And I said, oh, I know what I should be wearing. And I said, I should be wearing head to toe Gucci print, and it should, and I should feel total shame. So in this way, you know, the fashion kind of propels the scene forward and creates something funny. There was a humor in it. And then later, when she puts the hit out on Maurizio, all the glamour is gone. And, you know, she's really kind of rejecting everything about performing her gender as a woman. And she's now, you know, performing her gender as a woman that has a strong distaste for men. She no longer has respect for men. She no longer likes men. And she's dressed in this leather jacket with a sweater and thick, chunky jeans. And I remember I looked at Janti and I said, is this tu, Thelma and Louise? And then we both went, oh, but Ridley directed Thelma and Louise, so this is fine. So we, meaning this is great. This is more zeitgeist pop cultural stuff. So we had a great time being both accurate and literal. We also recreated exact things that Patrizia wore, and we had wonderful costume designers on set doing that with us. So it was a mixture of a lot of different things. And just a shout out also to what she did for the other actors who are not here today. I mean, the amount of tailoring that went into the suits that these men wore. I mean, it was outstanding. I mean, she's just incredible. And I was so grateful that she always allowed me to say no to things that I thought were too nice, things that I thought were too distracting, things that did not resonate with me as something that Patrizia would wear. And in that way, she allowed the character, and Ridley allowed the character to be ugly. You know, and when she served with divorce papers at the end of the film and she loses her mind at her daughter's school, it's ugly, but she's got that pin on her, that panther. So she's got that big cat with her and she's ready to pounce. She's ready to keep surviving. So the clothing was inherent to this role, but it never overpowered. And I think that's the true genius of Janti. It never gets in the way.
No, it's wonderful, and it's embedded in the fabric of the story. I just want to sort of unpack the emotional roller coaster that both of your characters experience. So if it's okay, I'm just going to throw out some of what I think are some of the most powerful scenes, and also include some of the other incredible actors who were also nominated for an ensemble award. Lady Gaga, you talk about Pina, who's played by Salma Hayek. What prompted Patrizia to call a cable channel TV tarot reader?
Desperation that rose out of something that I think is sort of inherently a part of her, which is I think that Patrizia has always suffered with this sort of yin yang that is rage and fear. And she suffered this balance of rage and fear her whole life. And it propels her to desperately reach out to this woman that she finds fascinating through the television. And this is not uncommon in Italian culture at all, to have a spiritual advisor, to have a fortune teller, someone to guide you through life. And I think that, you know, it speaks to where we are even today. And I loved this part of the film in a way, because for me, I think rage and fear was Patrizia's, existential crisis. And I think that we as a society, we grapple with rage and radical love and the balance of those two things. So that's how I found the evil in her. So I think the relationship with Pina, you know, this is where we start to see that sort of like desperation, survival, as well as the ability to be duplicitous and relentless in her pursuit of survival.
Jared, one of the most devastating scenes, I think, is this anticipation we see in Paolo as he comes to show, he's so brave and vulnerable when he comes to show his designs to his callous uncle, played so beautifully by Rodolfo, played so beautifully by Jeremy Irons. It's so humiliating. How did you approach and play that scene?
It was my first scene, so it was pretty intimidating. I've always loved Jeremy Irons. You know, I've always loved his work. Is just he's one of those actors that I just keyed into early on, and just to talk about what you said a second ago, and incredible to be, you know, to have this nomination to share with this cast. That's I didn't have any scenes with Salma Hayek, but I selfishly I had an opportunity to work with Jeremy, and I had this really rich scene with him. Al played my father, and just had these amazing scenes. I had these great scenes with Lady Gaga and with Adam. So I got a chance to really dive in with everyone and to mix it up a bit and get in the ring with all of these incredible artists. But the first day of shooting for me was with Rodolfo, good, sweet Uncle Rodolfo, kind and gentle Uncle Rodolfo, who took a giant dump on my dreams, and really just gave me in some ways that the motivation to go out on my own and kind of lit that fire. And I understood clearly. In some ways, it was a gift because I understood clearly I was never going to get the love or the support that I needed from the family. So it was the beginning of a new chapter for me, a very important scene. And a lot of fun because I was meeting everyone for the first time that day. Not everyone, but I was meeting everyone that was there for the scene. And Ridley he's great to work with. We just talked about this a little bit ago, but he's very flexible. So he'll come in and just cut a scene in half, put the beginning and put the end at the beginning and the middle at the end, and just mix things up. And he'll have a way that he wants to shoot the scene, and he's really efficient. And it's amazing to work with a master like that because he can do things that other people will struggle with. He can do quite easily. And he's just so gifted. He's such an incredible craftsmen.
I want to skip to this magical scene between the two of you in Paolo's studio, where Patrizia uses every tactic in her arsenal. It's so magical. But this dance between the two of you, was there a lot of rehearsal, and how did that evolve on set during the day, that scene?
I don't think we rehearsed it at all. I think we just shot it. I don't remember rehearsing it. I typically don't do much rehearsal. What do you remember?
What I remember is that Jared and Jared was always in character. I was always in character. So we were together, talking. I even remember us having a conversation about Rocket Man and Elton John at one point as Paolo and Patrizia. And we were what we did know is that there were several cameras set up over a series of rooms, because we were going to travel from one room to the other. So what I remember about this was that we knew sort of the trajectory of the scene in terms of physically where we were going to land and be, but the scene was really this dance. And not the literal dance that actually took place between us. That was spontaneous and on the spot. But we shot it. I mean, and it's very hard to say that in a way, I don't know that I ever wasn't rehearsing when I was with Jared. You know, maybe you feel differently, Jared, about the way you would describe it, but I always felt that we were inside of it together. So when the scene started, it wasn't, you know, Ray would yell action, shout out to Ray, our amazing AD. But, you know, we would just kind of go right into it. And what I loved about that scene is, yes, she's using every weapon in her arsenal, but Patrizia, you know, she considers herself rather innocent in her ability to use weapons. She's like, I'm a woman, I need weapons. We all need weapons, we're women. And so she doesn't find anything particularly, you know, malevolent about this. That scene was something that was really organic and beautiful. And I actually felt during that scene, and I haven't said this to you, Jared, but I actually felt that there was something so close between the two of them, almost like brother and sister. But we were both using each other, and we knew it. But it was like there was this closeness, a familyness, even though this was just about to blow up the whole business. So it came out of a lot of hard work. You know, it's two artists that put a lot of studied work into their characters, and then we get there prepared for Ridley, and we just have to be together.
Well said. Agreed, 1,000%.
And you were together beautifully in that, and the many other scenes that follow that I wish we could dig into, but we don't have time. I want to thank you both so much for sharing your craft and your process with other actors. We appreciate it. It's a beautiful gift that you've given us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Ciao. Grazie mille.
Ciao, 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 ciao.